Desiree, the newly elected Secretary General of the ANC, Fikile Mbalula, will give an outline on the preparations of the ANC's 111th January 8 statement to take place at the Free State Mangaung province, the birthplace of the ANC in 1912. There have been many deliberations on the prestige and the integrity of the ANC's January 8 statement, particularly of the events that transpired last year with the Limpopo provincial chairperson of the ANC, Stanley Chupu Mathabata, going on a platform of January 8 to practically endorse President Cyril Ramaphosa for a second term. There were also those utterances by then and now again ANC NEC member Fikile firing against Ace Magashule, who also addressed a January 8 statement in Pietermaritzburg in 2018 after the 2017 conference of the ANC, where he practically said it's a matter of 5 years before the ANC they know comes back. So the issue of the ANC's January 8 statement and it losing its thrust over the years, it's one of the issues that ANC leaders are deliberating upon, to saying that this inception of the January 8 statement by the longest serving president of the ANC, Oliver Original Tambo, from 1967 going to 1991, when he ultimately bowed out as the president of the ANC with Nelson Mandela taking over, saying that it has lost its thrust. Many South Africans now perceive and see the January 8 statement as a big bash for ANC leaders to flaunt their wealth, to flaunt their expensive and lavish lifestyles at the expense of the downtrodden and the poor. But in retrospect, you also have those whom listen and pay attentive attention to the January 8 statement, particularly knowing that in layman's terms, and it is loosely translated as umkombandlela of the party, to portray and to showcase the political year ahead of the programs that the governing party needs to fulfill.
Well, a lot of anticipation just in terms of what will come out with anticipated changes extending into government. What can we expect here?
What we can expect is, particularly when you look at the Free State province, Mangaung is a metro, but the ANC is holding on to that metro by tenterhooks, just by one particular vote that they are governing that specific metro, which is Mangaung. And it tells you of an African National Congress that is facing electoral decline, that has become pretty much and perceived to be a rural organization, in that they have lost practically all of the 8 metros in the country. Currently, out of all the 8 metros, the ANC only governs 3 of those metros, which is Buffalo City. You go to eThekwini through a coalition, and also Mangaung through a coalition. Even in Mangaung, there have been a number of issues in council, as you've got a split in the ANC caucus, with now the ANC leadership in that specific region and also the national leadership having sent 3 names to the ANC's officials for people to be interviewed. People like Gregory Ntatisi, who's a IPC member of the ANC in the Free State, has been shortlisted in those 3 names that were submitted by the IRC and the IPC of the province to the ANC's top brass leadership, for the ANC to make changes in the troika of the leadership of that specific municipality in Mangaung. Just the stadium where the ANC is going, there were reports and a letter issued by one of the city managers. As you know, there have been battles of who is the actual city manager of Mangaung. You've also had the leadership through the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs and the Minister of Finance, Enoch Godongwane, going to the metro in Mangaung to try and sort out the dire financial situation in that metro municipality, which is governed by the ANC in that province, where the ANC is facing a huge electoral decline as well. So they are not only going back to Mangaung to try and connect with their roots where the ANC was formed in 1912, but also its service delivery issues. The issues plaguing the people of Mangaung, the issues plaguing the people of the Free State province. Just on Thursday afternoon this week, the ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa will officially close the 55th National Conference of the ANC on a hybrid basis from the Free State province, accompanied by the newly elected top 7 of the governing party, and all other provinces will be at hybrid venues across all 9 provinces of the country as they conclude the business of conference, as they get various adopt resolutions from the various commissions. They have their report backs, and those resolutions will will ultimately form part of the program of action of the ANC for the next 5 years in Cyril Ramaphosa's political tenure as president of the African National Congress. But top of mind is issues of the just transition, to ensure energy security within the country, the issues of poverty, unemployment, underdevelopment, and inequality that is constantly plaguing the people of South Africa, the escalating high numbers of unemployment. You go to the issues of trying to revive the ailing South African economy, the refurbishing of South Africa's rail infrastructure as well, particularly for PRASA and particularly for Transnet, are some of the huge topical issues. The implementation of the basic income grant to try and cushion the poor from the high levels of poverty, inequality, and underdevelopment that is there within society.
Samkele, you talk about the closing of the conference, but there had been issue with the commissions just in terms of their constitution and whether there were substantive conversations taking place within those commissions. What's your sense as you await to hear from what the Secretary General has to say? Did they really have deep conversations about action plans for South Africa going forward?
Well, Desra, you've got to locate this issue of the ANC's policy formulations in a historical context. The ANC at a national conference goes into that conference with recommendations stemming from the policy conference of the governing party, which is pretty much the festival of ideas when it comes to the issues pertaining to policy in the ANC. They held their policy conference in June, July, earlier last year in 2022, which made policy proposals to the 55th National Conference on the policy direction the ANC has to take, particularly if you go to the Economic Transformation Subcommittee, now chaired by Mamlogo Kubai. It looks into the issues of SAPREF. It looks into the issue of SAPREF owning its own refinery. And it looks into how South Africa's National Energy Fund must be utilized to ensure that South Africa has, in a way, owns its own refinery that is owned by Engen and Total, currently out in Richards Bay, to ensure that you try and alleviate and reduce the escalating fuel prices that you see within the country. Just this week, we are anticipating the reduction of petrol prices and diesel prices, but it tells you that there is a deeper factor and a deeper introspection and a deeper intervention that the government needs to make on that particular aspect to try and curb and cushion business and the poor as well, in alleviating them from the escalating cost of living. It also comes to the growth of the South African economy, a conducive environment for job creation, a conducive environment for business and investments, foreign direct investments to come into the country in order to create the much needed jobs. The most important thrust coming of the ANC's 55th National Conference will be those resolutions pertaining to socio-economic eradication of poverty in the country and also the economic growth trajectory of the country. Issues pertaining to the nationalization of the South African Reserve Bank, issues pertaining to land expropriation without compensation, those issues will be high on the agenda, particularly knowing that the ANC had kick-started a process to try and amend Section 25 of the Constitution. You saw that policy proposal that was tabled in Parliament by Motela Motshekga and Ronald Lamula, who chairs the ANC's land reform program. It spoke about land expropriation with nil compensation, which was rejected by other parties, which simply meant they wanted the nil word to be replaced with the original resolution at conference, which was land expropriation without compensation. So those are some of the feedbacks that we'll be getting on the resolutions taken at the various commissions, particularly on economic transformation within the country and also the implementation of the national health insurance. It's been a protracted period that has not truly seen the realization of the implementation of the national health insurance, which is pretty much being blocked and being objected to by other opposition parties in order to try and cushion the poor as well, to say that when Chris Baragwanath Hospital in Soweto is full, they too whom are sick and do not have medical aid can be sent to Mediclinic, can be sent to Netcare, in order to make sure that you've got a universal healthcare system that benefits all the people of South Africa, as opposed to the rich currently going to your private hospitals and the poor having to wait in benches for a number of hours in order for them to receive medical health care, knowing that the public health care system is overstretched and overburdened.
As always, a brilliant job of bringing us into the picture, lest we get ahead of ourselves. What time are we expecting that briefing to start, Samkele?
The newly elected Secretary General of the ANC is expected to start his briefing in the next 3 minutes. We are not sure whether he's on time. We are seeing those who work with him in government who are here at Luthuli House. That would be his staff. They are already here, showing that their political principal, who now occupies the most powerful position in the ANC, which is effectively the CEO of the governing party on the 6th floor, Fikile Mbalula. He will be arriving at Luthuli House any time from now, and he will effectively have to step down or be reshuffled by the president as the Minister of Transport in the country. With that cabinet reshuffle imminent at any point after the ANC's January 8 statement, after the NEC Lekgotla, you can expect an address to the nation.